Hello and welcome to Leadership Ethics. I'm John Pijanowski. I'll be the professor for this course. And this course is mostly designed for people who are trained to be in school leadership positions, but it's taught just generally enough to bring in some examples from other private sector leadership, higher ed leadership, that I think will be applicable to people from all different types of fields who are interested in the role that ethics and moral reasoning and moral action plays and how we lead organizations. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the course. There's a certain rhythm to the way this summer course will play out. And I want to talk to you about what that looks like and the website and what I want you to do to get started. So first off, I sent an email to everybody who is enrolled in the course and provided some direction of how you should get yourself set up to begin engaging in the discussion board. If you haven't looked at that, please do and follow those directions to register with our Google group discussion board. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is fairly simple. Talk about two things that you should know really well. One, yourself. So it's just an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and use the discussion post to talk a little bit about who you are and where you're going. And the other thing I want you to do is to begin talking about ethical dilemmas right away. So I've asked you to describe an ethical dilemma that you've dealt with professionally. It could be something that's going on in a job that you're currently in, or it could be anywhere in your professional life. But what I've asked you to do is provide some detail about the dilemma itself, but to not go so far as to talk about how it was resolved. Either how you resolved it or how it was resolved by somebody else. Leave that part out, because the next thing I'm going to have all of you do is come back the first night of the next day, read what everybody has written so you can get to know each other a little bit through their introductions. Read through all the dilemmas, and then choose at least two, and you can do more if you'd like, but choose at least two of the dilemmas that you see there, and then start to reflect on how those might be resolved. And we'll begin a dialogue about how we wrestle these things to the ground. And when you're doing this, I don't want you to just think about what you do, but also why you do it. Because that's going to be a critical part of the work that we do here during the semester is not just talking about normative ethics and what somebody should do, but also to talk about the process and how we develop that process that helps inform why we do what we do and how we can get better at doing the right thing moving forward. You'll also notice that if you look ahead to the course schedule, that there is a rhythm to the semester, and that we have 4 active days each week where you're engaged in some sort of activity for class. And at the beginning of each week, we start with a case. And so the case has some readings that are associated with it that will help you understand either the case itself or help you understand some of the theory behind the case. And you'll be asked to engage in the discussion board activities right away. So you'll read the case, I'll give you some prompting questions, you'll reflect on those. The next day you'll continue that discussion after you've had a chance to see what everybody else has contributed, and there'll also be usually some additional readings that help push your thinking maybe a little bit further in a slightly different direction. Keep that conversation fresh and lively. And you move into day 3, I'll usually have a video for you, and that's a video lecture or some sort of multimedia experience where you're going to be getting some information, more likely theory-based rather than case-based. But there'll be some connection with the case that you've already been studying for this week. And then you'll reflect on that reading. And so we start with practice, and then we move to theory, and we use the practice as a hook to hang these theoretical ideas on and explore them a little bit more deeply. And then the next week, the flow starts over again with case, continued discussion of the case, video, lecture or experience or something like that, and then a continued discussion of that video that's set in theory. We have a few overarching assignments that are due, and I have some materials on the website. I'll talk about those in more detail in a future video blog. But essentially it's asking you to think a little bit more deeply about moral dilemmas that you've faced in your life, and also to try to identify and understand what are some of the obstacles that exist in your own experience to not just thinking of what the right thing to do is, but acting on what we know the right thing to do is. This idea of moral character or moral integrity will be sort of the cornerstone of that major assignment. Other than that, our interactions will be mostly through discussion, through video blogs like this, which I'll post quite frequently, and also through video conferencing or email back and forth. I try to be very accessible during these classes, particularly early on, because I know for some people the technology is something that makes the class very accessible, and for others it's something that can be frustrating until you learn how to do it. So I'm here to help people learn how to use this technology so that it's an asset rather than a hindrance. If you have any questions at any time, I encourage you, you can always email me directly, but I also think a good idea is for you to post on our Google discussion board, start a new topic, provide a heading that makes sense for the question you're asking, and ask it so that everybody can hear your question. That way everybody can see my answer as well. So I'm excited about this class. It's one of my favorite classes to teach. I think we've got a lot of interesting cases put together for this summer, and some very nice new videos that I think you'll find both interesting and at times entertaining. Hopefully this is some of this information is both new for you and in some ways familiar. But even with the familiar, I hope we can take it into new directions and ways that'll be interesting and useful for you in your life and in your job. And I'm looking forward to seeing you online.